Kishan, sorry, what's your point of view with PAP and WP manifesto?
Identify yourself and
Oh, hi. I'm Veron from Nintendo. Yeah, so what's your point of view with PAP and WP manifesto?
What's our point of view as far as the manifesto is concerned? Look, we have to be focused on our own manifesto and our own proposals. And we've got all of 2 weeks. You know, in this campaign, how difficult it is to reach out to the man in the street, the average voter. And so we have to be very focused on our own message. And one of the messages that we wanted to bring to the voters is that these ideas are not something which were not said before. In fact, many of the ideas have been copied by the PAP. I think I've said it repeatedly, I've said it in the last few media door stops. Just take one example, okay, of our education system. Everybody has just been relentlessly put through the grinding mill, right? You memorize all your facts and figures that are given to you, and then you regurgitate in the exams. And that is a huge, huge problem, especially when your children, right? And we've said, look, you don't need streaming, not in this day and age. And as I said, last year, Forward Singapore has come out and openly declared right now that we will abolish streaming, something that the SDP has been calling for years. And I'm just saying, even if we do it now, it will take years for us to be able to get to the point where our education system then begins to at least be able to produce citizens, Singaporeans that are able to cope with the changes in modern society. Right now, it's still very much exam oriented, and I just want to give you this a flavor of this. And there are many other policies, whether it's universal healthcare, whether it's unemployment insurance, and on and down the road. Our Singaporeans First policy, all these things have been picked up by the PAP, and I just want to emphasize on this point because we have been emphasizing on our policies, which we will be highlighting and launching it. This is a huge platform as far as the SDP is concerned, and it's down on paper. The dates and everything, you go and look it up. We're down on paper, and that is why we take a lot of pride in us being a constructive party. We've long put up as our motto, as far as SDP is concerned, competent, constructive, compassionate. We live by those key principles. We live by those values. We have achieved far beyond what any opposition party should be able to produce, and that's being constructive. And you cannot be constructive without being competent. And the next thing, if you look at all our policies, they're all very much centered around being compassionate for as far as our society is concerned. Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Chi, some of the policies brought up today, like reducing GST, removing land costs for housing, minimum wage, have broadly been proposed by SDP in previous elections. So, are there any updates or refinements to the policies?
The whole idea is that the PAP has been absolutely adamant, right? And if they can get away with it, they will. So we asked them. In 2020, we said suspend the GST because coming out of the pandemic, Singaporeans are already hurting, and the situation is going to get worse. So we call suspension of the GST. But then, lo and behold, 2023, and then last year again, they increased the GST. And it really befuddles us in terms of why is it that when you call the whole host of cost increases, whether it's your water price, whether it's your petrol duty, whether it's your bus and MRT fares, on top of that, you tack on and added 2% to your GST. It makes absolutely no sense to us. So what we're saying is that you make sure right now that we roll back all these cost increases, roll back your GST to pre-COVID levels, and let the people breathe easier just a little bit. And then you just see people are not struggling, looking over their shoulders to see who is going to steal the lunch, right? And in that sense, then build up their confidence to be able to move forward rather than just treading water all the time.
Follow-up on that question. So, you've been in politics for many, many years, and the policies that you mentioned earlier as well has been also talked about for many years.
Yes.
What makes it different this time around for the 2025? Your new faces, your new campaign, what
Yes.
makes it,
Yes.
reiterate the,
Yeah.
the
Because along the way, the PAP has picked up on our policies. And as we want to be able to emphasize on to Singaporeans right now, there are still very many essential policies that the PAP is stubbornly refusing to do. And as I said, the message to go out to citizens, to voters, is that we need to continue to keep up the drumbeat and make sure that the PAP listens to us. And let me also add, the political landscape, the media landscape is very different now than it was, say, even 10 years ago. Now social media has come on the scene, right? It affords us that ability to be able to reach out to the younger voters especially, and even to the older generation of voters. And they can hear it from us not right now. And so I suspect that they're going to be a lot more amenable to the SDPs when what we're talking about in this election. So that's it, that change is in the offing, and we want to make sure that we continue to keep it up and push it and push the message to voters.
Louisa from CNO, I'd like to ask you about talks with other opposition parties. So there is still the possibility of a corner fight in Sembawang. Could you talk about the progress of that?
We were continuing to keep our communications open and to see if we can work things out. But as I said, it's not so much of who stands where, but where you stand. You make sure that it's not like tissue paper you put on the table and you choke, correct? It's intense groundwork. It's formulating our message to the voters. It's how we begin to reach out to voters through social media. All these things come into play. And I'm very glad to report that Sembawang GRC in this constituency of Bukit Panjang, in Marsiling UT, and in Sembawang West, the groundwork has been intense. One reason why you found the SDP announcing our candidates, I think we were the first ones to firm up our slate of candidates, is because we know there's limited amount of time, correct, in the groundwork that we have. But what we wanted to do is to announce it early so that we can get on the ground, so the candidates' faces are there. Okay, and then they can go all out in terms of speaking with residents, talking to them, persuading them of their votes. Hence, the entire thing. I come back to this point again. If you are unable to reach out to the extent of voters and trying to convince them, persuade them, then the voters will be able to see it. And this is why we want to make that point clear as we go forward. Not so much in just holding media stocks like this, but after that, the entire week, as we have done in the past few weeks, is just getting the ground. No shortcuts. No shortcuts. Okay, we get on, we visit every household, and let me just make this also very clear. Yesterday, I announced on my social media, my platforms, in 3 weeks' time, our team has gone out and knocked on every door in Sembawang West. Okay, we've delivered flyers to every household in Sembawang West. Okay, and it's not going to be the end. We're going to continue to visit households, to go down to kopitiams, to make sure that our flyers reach out to them and continue to persuade them. So it's all about hard work and not about who wants to go where. Yeah.
Lavanya from Tamil Nadu. So you just mentioned you are reaching out to people through social media. So what digital campaigning strategies do you plan to implement this election? That's my first question. And second is, how do you think the recent announcement of projects and 5-year plans for town improvement in areas like Bukit Panjang and Sembawang is going to affect your outlook?
Well, to answer you, the first part of your question, that's campaign strategy. And as I listed out, okay, it's on the ground, okay, social media, and we're going to have to depend on rallies as well. So this is what we're going to be focusing our effort on, and be very focused in terms of our campaign messaging. And this is what you see Alfred and Daman have just talked about. It's in all of our campaign literature. Flyers going out, we replicated that in all our flyers. So voters will get to see and be very clear about what we're intending to do. Okay, we've highlighted the difference between PAP's vision and ours. clear alternative choice there. And to come to your question about the
A 5-year down improvement plan
yes,
or Bukit Panjang.
every year they trot this out, and we're going to be able to say it's all in some of the PAP MPs' words. They're neutral funding neutral, whatever that means. In that sense, that whoever becomes takes control of the town council, it will make the plans are there, and we will just want to see if it's feasible, if it benefits the people, it does not keep costing them unnecessary funds. We will make sure we go ahead and support it. I've got issues on this matter. I know that in Bukit Batok, there was this 5-year plan, right, of just replacing the canopy at the sports stadium. And then you look at there's no tear, there's no wear and tear, okay? And then they want to replace the toilets. And I'm saying everything still works. Because every time they do something like it doesn't come out from the minister's pockets. It comes from the citizens, they pay, right? And I just give you one very good example, which I'll be highlighting. In my letterbox, I received this very beautiful calendar, right? Hardback, full color pictures of all the MPs in there, right? And then at the bottom, it says the town council, and I don't know what printed it. Guess where the money comes from? And then they increase our town council fees. I just want to tell the people that if we actually handle this concern, we'll be sitting down, we'll be having town halls with them. Is this expenditure necessary? Right? You're going to pay for it. So as a constituency, as residents here, you decide. I've come to also, I've seen traffic lights. Now when you depress that button, right, to cross the road, the government now wants to change it to sensory. And I'm saying it's all this cost unnecessary because every time you spend is every time the people have to pay. So be very careful. This 5 years. It sounds grandiose. It sounds very good. But at the end of it all, ask your fundamental question first. How are people coping with your rise in cost of living when you have all this expenditure?
So building on from Mr. Chi's statement on the intense groundwork that has been done, we've been walking the ground in Sembawang GRC, and I just want to link it to the calls that you make for greater minority oppositions in Parliament. So when you're walking the ground, do the residents share some of the sentiments that you've made based on observations?
I think it is quite heartening to note that as far as the minority votes are concerned, they are, I think, leaning a lot to the opposition side. So we are hoping that this sustained interest will be maintained, and when it comes to the actual voting on polling day, we see a swing of the minority votes towards the opposition. As I said before, that this will benefit the minority group because issues that are not addressed will get to be addressed if we are in the parliament.
But I guess cost of living issues affects everybody, all communities. I was at the coffee shops at Sembawang this morning speaking to various residents. Whether they are Chinese, Indians or Malays, they came out and say the same thing. Cost of living is too high. We met a young family couple, 29-year-old couple. I asked them, oh, they're happily married. Are you going to have children? Cost of living is too expensive to have children. They'd rather keep mice. I mean, they are appealing for help from the government, how to ease their burden. And I think our government has not been doing that well on this front. We'll do something about it if we get into parliament.
I've got to make anybody, Jin or Brian, do you want to share the slogan of in Chinese? And
the 早报
all I can say is not literal translation, I can vary to shoot the message as well.
大家好，今天呢，我们的党过来这边呢，主要是宣传我们这一次竞选的那个方向，跟大家解释一下。因为呢，这次我们对于民生的问题呢是非常的注重的。我们的国家已经成立了60年了，我们好像幸福指数越来越差，特别是最近这5年，跟上5年比起来。所以这次呢，我们的党呢制定了很多的方法跟方针，需要推动，希望能够推动，我们这个整个国会的一个进步。因为一党专政太多年了，很多东西都很难实现。作为反对党，我们很痛苦， 可是我们希望通过我们的不懈的努力，把人民的心声传播出去。至于细节的话呢，我们晚一点会更详细的那个讲解。
Leadership renewal, is this something that SDP is looking at?
It's something which we have going forward to grow the party. You must understand, okay, when you talk about leadership renewal, there are two kinds. One is you let your members come out and choose their leaders. The other one is you come and dictate from on high who is going to be your successor, and then you put everybody in that mold in there. And after a little while, whoever successor you choose looks like you, thinks like you, and feels like you. And then it becomes very much a situation where it's just passed on, nothing ever changes. If you look at the erstwhile Soviet Union, and even today, when you look at, say, for example, China, okay, it's just been passed down from one another. Anything changes, and this is where I'm saying, as society changes, as times change, technology races forward, you've got to stop this group thing, all right? And in order to do that, a lot of times it comes up from ground up. As with society, it is with your party. You've got to let the members come together and see where they feel that it's necessary to have the leaders take this whole idea go forward. So there's this whole question about leadership, and it has to be spontaneous. It has to come from the ground up, and that's the whole idea of a democratic party, and that's the middle name of our of SDP.
So tapping on Suhui's question, so for SDP, you've seen the slates revealed, and a lot of the candidates are election and party veterans. So how then do you plan to bring in new, fresh perspectives?
If you look at Arifin Shah and some of our younger members, even if they don't come up as candidates, we are always in touch with them, and some of them are still young, and they were saying, next elections they will come forward, and these are the things. But we're constantly listening to them, talking with them. In fact, we've been having these conversations and making sure that we hear them as well. One of the reasons why we're going to make mental health issue a very key policy issue in these elections has come from them. The young, 1 in 3 Singaporeans actually facing severe depression, anxiety, and stress. And these are the issues that they're very confused, they're very concerned about, and job security, and the whole idea of just being a more compassionate society. These are all very concerning with them, and we've taken them on board. But some of them are just beginning to find their feet in the political world, and it will manifest itself as we go by. But for now, we've got younger candidate in the form of Arifin Shah, and we're going to continue he's going to take the lead as far as some of these youth issues are concerned.
Dr. Mayuko from UK, sorry. I have seen you having a strong supporter historically, but how are you reaching out? How is your effort to reach out to the younger voters in bearing fruit, and what kind of policies and programs, the positions that you have is reaching out and appealing to them?
Yes. As far as our younger voters are concerned, the question is, how are we reaching out to younger voters? I think it's important to know that social media has got to be our key avenue. And this afternoon, what we're going to do is take questions from younger voters. What are your concerns? Right? We want to hear from them. We just don't want to keep lecturing them, talking down to them, being condescending. We want to hear from them. What are their concerns? And this is where I think listening sometimes, and then be able to reflect on what they said, formulate that in the policies, and then push it. This morning we were having breakfast, and a few younger voters as well coming up and telling us about AI and their concerns about it. And we want to be able to take this forward into the election. So, in how to reach out to them, number 1 is social media. Number 2 is really listening to them and hearing their concerns, and then be able to articulate them in the form of policy making during the elections and after the elections as well.
Actually, will you be able to say if the party will be standing in Holland Bukit
We're still seeing what we can do, but it looks unlikely at this stage, given the name of the game, because we want to be able to afford to consolidate our resources. I keep saying, no point in you wanting to claim the whole of Singapore and stand in every constituency, right? You can. It's easy. It's not, the nomination process, just put your name down, send it a few centers and so on. But the whole idea of SDP's approach is that we want to make sure that we run an honest to goodness, solid campaign. And by that, I mean reaching out to every voter where we possibly can. Talk to them, understand what's at stake, so that when they come to the both voting booth, they know exactly what they're voting for. And there's no point in us just trying to just put up one or two posters and then they see us, but then they don't see us, that kind of situation. So we want to reach out to them, and the only way that we can do is to make sure that we consolidate all our resources and bring everybody to the ground, financial resources as well, bring it to bear on the constituencies that we're contesting, and that's why we are going for quality, not quantity.
Question about funding. So how large of a concern is funding this time around in this election?
It's always a concern. Unlike the PAP, I've never seen the PAP organize a fundraising event. I just cite you one example, right? President Tharman, when he was running for his campaign, it was reported, I think, he raised something like $800,000 from 8 people. 2 people wrote him a $200,000 check. For us, it's really depending on the people. We saw that coming, so we started the program early. As you know, I started raising funds and to make sure that it came from the ground up. Everybody contributed a little, and we continue to ask Singaporeans, because this is their campaign. We are their party. And that has got to be how things are managed. Because if you get your funding from on up high, it will be a very top-down approach in your campaigning as well. For us, it's bottom-up. We want to make sure that people get involved, right from helping us spread the word to raising funds, and that's how we're going to get the message across. If there are no other questions, thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you again at the rallies, okay? Take care.